Hey everyone, this episode is with my friend Devin Frederickson. He's a dear brother from Maui, and we met in the men's work space and we've become good friends. I decided to have him on because I just wanted to get on the podcast with a friend who I have a good dynamic with and ask him some questions and just have a great conversation. And right away, something came out of it where that I did not see coming, which was Devin sharing his experience with a near-death experience where he overdosed on something and went all the way out, you could say, and then came back, and how that experience changed the whole trajectory of his life and how he made a decision to kind of take better care of himself and grow up in a way, and how that guided him. And then, speaking of guides, we also talked about mentorship and the two major mentors that Devin had in his life that guided him in those years in his late teens and early 20s. That subject was near and dear to my heart because I've been reflecting on a mentor that I had between the age of 20 and 28 who recently passed away, and thinking about where I would be without his wisdom. I was so lucky to have a man with his experience at my side, not judging me, just providing wisdom when I told him I was open to it, and holding space for my Wile E. Coyote, because I was a lot in my 20s. And, Devin and myself were both so lucky to have had mentors at that age. We talk about other subjects here, describing the Multi-Orgasmic Man and the work that Devin was doing with that. We talked about porn addiction, something that I think doesn't get talked about enough. I think it's rising right now, which is good because the problem has risen and has been prevalent for a while now, particularly with the advent of video and live streams on the internet and such. And more and more at men's retreats, like when people get honest, I'm just hearing it more and more. And in my addiction circle, I'm hearing it more and more. I've almost always got somebody in my addiction circle who's dealing with porn addiction. And so we talk about that, I think, in a good way and a non-judgmental way, just like relating ourselves and our own experience. And Devin shares some great wisdom about that and how he recovered from porn addiction. So I think that's an important part of the conversation. And we talk about his work with men in his program, Becoming the King, and how he coaches men to come home to themselves and how to heal. So overall, great conversation with a men's coach and an inspiring man with some pretty interesting stories and a good friend of mine. So enjoy this conversation, folks. As always, if you're a man looking for a men's group, you can check out what Devin's got. I'll leave his links in the description. You can check out Arca Brotherhood if you're looking for a weekly men's group with no end date. And if you want to work with me on your addiction, I've got a men's group that focuses on that. And that's on my website, and I'll leave it in the show notes. All right, folks, enjoy this episode with Devin Frederickson. All right, I'm here with another brother from Maui on the show, Devin Frederickson. Man, I'm excited to chat with you, to sit down, have a digital coffee, to learn more about you, even though we're already friends, and to talk about what you do and what you're going through and what you're learning in your life right now. Thanks for coming on the show.
Grateful to be here, Ben. Don't have coffee. I got my midday Shilajit, so.
Me too. I'm drinking nettle tea.
Yep.
That's a Jenny Azuma reference. He's the digital coffee. Yeah, let's start with how we know each other. So, I met you in Tulum in
That's where we met.
I'm going to say 2021, right?
Well,
I knew you through Sacred Sons, and I don't know how you knew me, but you recognized me, and we did a sweat lodge together. We did a Temescal together.
Well, because we met at Andy's birthday party. It was Andy's birthday.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I had known of you, both you and Shalina being in the realm of men's work. I knew of you and your work. So I was just aware. That's all I was. I didn't know who you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we started by getting cooked together. I think there was a temescal, and then followed by the birthday party like the next day or that weekend or
Uh-huh.
something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I came on your summit,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think maybe Shalina came on the summit as well. And then somehow you were like, "Hey, I'm going to be in your area running a retreat. I'm doing chef work." And you ended up at our place just for a visit, and then we vibed, and you didn't leave for like 5 or 6 days.
We were going
And
to stay for like 2 days, I think, at most. Come over, spend the night, and we loved it. My now wife, we loved being there, and I already knew that you and Shalina were cool because when we talked, we were talking all about your land and permaculture and just everything that you guys were creating. And I already had trust because of Andy and just when people are in those realms, wanting to be in community, wanting to have a relationship with the land, my eyes always pierce. I'm like, all right, who are those people? What's going on?
hmm yeah, the plants and working with the land is something that's really near and dear to you, right? Which is
Very much
something
so.
we definitely vibed on that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's our mutual friend Andy who's been on the show. With Yanuqua. We did an episode called Kings of Hearts.
Things of
So
parts.
that's the Andy that we're referencing here. So yeah, man. And you were in the men's workspace. You started off with Sacred Sons. You were with those guys for a while.
Yeah, honestly, I've as I've retraced everything, I've kind of been in the men's workspace for a long time without realizing it. I'm the
Hmm.
oldest of 16 grandchildren.
Wow.
13 of the 16 are males. So I grew up with a lot of boys in general, one being the oldest. And then I was the head, not the head, I was the captain for the cross country and the track team. So I was already in a space of leadership then. I go to college. I got my first male client when I was 20 years old. And as I've been going back, so I started working, and that was more like youth work, but I still was mentoring a younger
hmm
male.
hmm
And then at that time, right around that same time of 20, I had an influx of mentors that came in that started exposing me to the world. It was not titled men's work at that time, but these were older men who were in their late 40s, 60s, and I was very much hanging out with them, getting mentorship. And so it's been going on for a long time. Sacred Sons really was like a big catapult for me that brought me to the forefront even more and just got so much more exposure to a lot of and consistent men's work and just being in spaces with men to support men coming back home to themselves. So Sacred Sons really did a lot for me. When I went down to Tulum, I was putting on a bunch of circles with a dear friend, Soleil, and we were infusing temescals with men's work and
Huh.
doing the temescal and then going in, dropping into deep work afterwards, and then having a dinner celebration to kind of go through the different archetypes, which was really cool. That was a sweet format, and was running weekly classes with his organization called Men of Means for about a year.
Hmm.
I loved that. And now in a space of feeling like I'm here to really bring forth and offer whatever is wanting to come through me now at this time. And we can touch
Mhm.
on more of this as we go along. And it's been very much prompted by some big happenings in life.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that and about the work that you're doing in the world. But the question that came through for me that piqued my interest was like, how did you end up with these men in your life when you were in your 20s that were impacting you? These guys who were 20 to 40 years older than you. Like, you're really lucky to have had that, and it actually, like, the subject is like near and dear to my heart in this moment because my old AA sponsor died a couple weeks ago, and I just attended his funeral yesterday, and just wept so many times with gratitude for what he provided for me in those years between about age 20 and 28. Like I was a mess in those years. Like I was a real wrecker. Like I was causing a lot of shit in the world. Like I was working on giving back, and I was a counselor, and I went to university and stuff, but I also got in fist fights and breakups, and like major shit went down in my relationships, and I almost got fired a whole bunch of times. Like started a mutiny at work. Like this guy stood by with like this sort of mountainous, loving energy, with just full of wisdom, and walked with me as I moved through those parts of my life. He was like my father in that time.
Wow.
And honestly, I don't know what I would have done without men like him in my life at that time, because I really had a tendency with all the energy in my body to like sabotage or create problems, make enemies out of people. And
Yeah.
even though my intentions were good. And so like, I really do credit those men who were mentoring me in those years with my success in life, and just that like I actually turned out pretty okay. So I don't think everybody gets that opportunity. So how did you end up in that position?
Well, one, I had a near death experience. I had an accidental overdose of MDMA that
Mm.
changed my whole trajectory. I was in college, I was studying environmental resource engineering. I thought that I had everything figured out. And then, boom, I leave my body, I go off, I talk to God, I have this whole conversation with Spirit, and was given a choice saying, do I want to continue on? I don't have to go back, or do I want to come back to Earth? And that was a pivotal moment for me because I didn't have any concept of my body. I didn't know where I was, but I was able to sense into, I guess, my soul. And it felt like I still had responsibility and things to do here on Earth. So I told Spirit, yes, I want to go back. And Spirit was like, yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I wanted to give you the free will and give you the choice. So
Wow.
that was a whole conversation and rocked my world in and of itself. But then coming back to my body, and after I was finally able to take my breath, granted, I was like moving through space and had to find the earth and had to find my body and then look at my body and not be in my body. And
So you
that
remember all this? You remember
was
this
vividly.
journey?
I remember the journey. It was vivid. It was
Wow.
exceptionally vivid. Great, still to this day. So when I took my first breath after going through that whole journey, I just started weeping
Yeah.
because I realized that I was living from a place without gratitude. I don't know your whole story of what you were going through at that time, but for me, I had gone through a heartbreak and I just started hanging out with guys who were drinking, who were smoking a lot of pot, who were doing a lot of different psychedelics, but to escape. They were really going out, not using them as tools to explore consciousness, unlock, tap into our bodies and stuff like that. And I was experiencing so much pain that that's what I was around. And so
Hmm.
what happened is when I breathed again, it felt like the first time I took a breath because it felt my lungs just got ripped open. It felt like there was a zipper of like my flesh just being opened. And that just realized, in that moment, it just showed me I'm here to live with gratitude. I'm here to
Hmm.
accept this extreme gift, this miracle of life, and live from that place. And so that then led me into permaculture because I was studying in one of my classes land use and climate change and just talking about how governments delineate land and blah, 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 blah. I was given agriculture for whatever reason, and I was chosen to give the solution section of the report. After looking at the state of the world and thinking, oh, we're doomed, what is the point of living life? I learned about permaculture. That got me into the neck of the woods of the permaculture community. And that's where I met the guy who was kind of the head of the
Hmm.
permaculture, the Humboldt Permaculture Guild, Levon Dur. And he became my best friend.
Hmm.
I went to the sauna for the first time with him. He was like, "Hey, let's go to the sauna." And I'd never gone to gone to a sauna with another guy to be in silence, to not talk, and to
Hmm.
just be in reflection. And he just started inviting me over to his house, having tea, going on like wild foraging mushrooms and wild foraging herbs. And we started connecting, and I just had an older brother. Again, being the oldest, I never had like that older brother figure. So he kind of was like an older brother figure.
Mm.
And then my other mentor, Patrick Hairstad, I was playing rugby at the time, and I got massively injured. I could not like bend over a couple of degrees if my body's like 180. I could barely bend over.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what was going on. And at the time, a friend of mine, she was like, come to Pilates with me. There's going to be girls there, beautiful women, and you're going to be the only guy. And I was like, I'm 20, I'm in college, and you're telling me to come and be around a lot of beautiful women and work out? Like, sign me up. That then got me into yoga. And when I was studying yoga, I was studying with this practitioner. His name's Patrick Hairstad. And I signed up for his Introduction to Meditation course. I didn't know much about meditation at the time. Again, I'm still a 20-year-old. I had had experiences or exposure through martial arts, but no practice. And this was a couple months after my near-death experience. And it was in that time that as I was practicing meditation, as I was calming my mind, my channel or other information, my antennas started to turn on even more. And I just started having experiences where I would hear what everyone was going to say. I would see what was going to happen. Like I'd go to the grocery store, and minutes before I go to the grocery store, I have a vision of what was going to happen. And I started to get freaked out, in all honesty. I was like, I can't talk to anyone about this. My friends are thinking I'm weird. They're telling me, you're crazy, dude. You already had that experience earlier. What's going on? And when I was talking with him, he said, I think you really need to explore your sexual energy. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, first read this book. And I read a book by Montauk Chia, The Multi-Orgasmic Man.
Right.
That blew my whole world open, no pun intended. And I then started working with him. He's like, you need to learn how to use this energy in your life. You need to learn how to work with your sexual energy. And I also, coming from a background of being addicted to porn, getting exposed to porn when I was 6 years old, that was the best segue out of that addiction, to learn how to re-engage my relationship with my body. And that's what he helped me with largely, I would say, is I was doing weekly sessions with him around my physical health, my alignment in my body, because of the yogic perspective, just looking at the chakras and then working with the sexual energy and that attunement. So those two men helped me refine myself, helped me understand my emotions, helped me understand my sexual urges. Without them, I definitely would not be where I am today. So massive, massive respect to Levon and Patrick. I'm largely who I am because of them.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
This is why I love podcasting, because I just get to hear these things about friends that I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
I didn't know about your near-death experience. And it's so interesting, the parallels between that experience and like other ones that I've heard. Like I've talked to people and heard about other times where they've gone flatline and they've left their bodies and gone and spoken to source and like had a conversation about whether to come back or not, and then coming back down through all the different layers of reality to arrive back at the body. Man, that is a wild experience. And it's kind of crazy to say it, but like you're lucky to have had that experience, because it's like a wake up call, like a spiritual wake up call in that moment. Like, what ding, like you got your bell rung as hard as it can ring,
Yeah. I thought I was going to die, in all honesty, because I don't know if you've ever done ecstasy. The eye shakes, my eyes did not stop shaking for like half an hour, where they were just going like, zzz, and I put my arm around my friend and my best friend at the time, and I told him, I need all of your help right now. I feel like I'm going to die. And what he did, bless him and all the people around me, no one knew how intense how much of a dose I had taken. Naively, I didn't know how much it took. But he just leaned me up against a redwood tree and was like, oh, you'll be fine here. And to come to find it, that I was there basically by myself no one checked on me for about an hour and I didn't move. Like, I'm just grateful that I made my way back, knowing, because I had a dude who's very geeked out in the realms of psychedelics and entheogens. He told me that the LD50, which is like the dosage that 50% of the human population, if they take, will die. And that's like a measure, like, do not ever go above the LD50. I took 2.1 grams of MDMA. And
No way.
the LD50 is 1.2. So
Yeah.
I was close to double that. And after I shared my story, he came up with me and just was like, "Can I touch you? Because you should not be here."
Yeah.
So it was the biggest blessing because my whole world changed, Ben. I did not focus or care about what I put in my body. I didn't care who I was around. I was very frivolous and wanted to explore in other realms with girls and sex and all that stuff. Like, none of that was important to me. And all of a sudden, after that near-death experience, I started making all my own food. My grades went. I was like at a 3.2 GPA. I got a 4.0 for my last 2 years in college because I was planning everything. I called my mom so high on the MDMA and told her, "Mom, you don't have to worry anymore." And she was like, "Oh, son, what are you high on?" And I was like, "Mom, you may think that I'm high, but like the clarity in that moment when I told her, it was with such conviction. You don't have to worry anymore. I know why you were worried, because I was still a boy. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't being responsible for myself." And in that moment, it was like a lightning bolt that said, "Nope, no going back. You can't go back."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like you took MDMA, it got too intense, and then you took a shot of DMT and shot out to outer space.
Holy
met Jesus or similar energy, had a conversation about how you need to grow up,
Yep.
and then got downloaded back into your body with a clear memory of what occurred and essentially like a plan of action, or at least the impulse to do something about it, which is yeah, it's impressive, and it is one of the gifts of MDMA, particularly, like ecstasy being a other mix of other things that are with MDMA. Yeah. But it can open the heart and just, like really open you up, and it gives you the dopamine that makes you want to actually do something with that. It doesn't just tap you into your feelings. It also makes you want to take action. And I've only tapped into that medicine a couple times, very intentionally, and haven't overdosed. But the breakthroughs that I've had in those moments, they've actually stuck with me, and I've felt like permanently changed by those things. And like they actually, I had my first time doing it. I was at a festival with my now wife, and that's where I chose to do it for the first time because we were with friends and we were close, and it just felt like the right time to do it. And the music ended up sucking, and we leave the dance floor. And at this particular festival, they had a fire because it was at a campground. And so we leave the festival, we go to the fire, and there's my ex-girlfriend at the fire. And we had been in a no contact for like 8 months by that point. And I was with my new partner, and I was bumping into the partner before this one. And we had to go no contact because of just the murkiness between us and the like unmet needs and this sort of like chasey energy. And anyways, I like go over to her and ask her what's up. And she's like, "You really want to know?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, and so she just starts dumping all this stuff, and dumping might not be the right word, because like I was available for the dump. I was like, "Let's go," and I was totally open. And then her and my existing partner start going, "Oh yeah, he does that." Like they start corroborating the ways in which I act from shadow, or that I don't show up at my best. And I'm just nodding like, "Yeah, like I totally do that. That's brutal." And like just actually listening with empathy for once
Well,
And she didn't believe that that conversation was going to stick because she knew I was like under the influence of something. And I was like, well, let's check in tomorrow, because like it feels pretty real to me right now.
yeah,
And we checked in the next day, and I was like, I remember everything that I said to you, and I'm here, like I'm unchanged in that respect. Like I agree with all of it, and I don't take any of that back. And I want to move forward with you in this way. So just to like, I guess I'm just backing up how sometimes with some of these medicines, particularly when they're not adulterated or altered with other things that are
Mhm.
consciousness depressants, you really can't get a lot of tangible stuff from these experiences. And this is like your story is just like the ultimate example
Ultimate
of
drug.
that, those outcomes. Wow, dude, super cool. So um so you start working with this permaculture mentor,
Mhm.
and then that's what was his name?
Leave on.
Leave on. And then you start working with Patrick,
Yep.
who, takes you into Multi-Orgasmic Man and stuff like this. Can you tell people what the Multi-Orgasmic Man is about for people who haven't talked about it? I think I talked about it on episode 3 of my podcast with a guy, but like that was way back. And
Back. Yeah.
people who don't know about this need to know about it. Men who don't know about this body of work and that particular book and what it opened up for so many men, they really need to know about it.
Yeah. So the multi-orgasmic man is literally in the name, that men have a capacity to be multi-orgasmic. That ejaculation and orgasm are not the same thing. And in a day and age where you have to censor all of these words on Instagram and social media and all this stuff, and when we don't even actually prioritize sexual education, this book, for me, plus the amount of men that I've recommended it to, has changed my life and so many men's lives. And to be able to harness our energy, our life force, which can be used and looked as sexual energy because we can create a child with that, but it's also so much more to it than just the primal biological component. It's a way that we can channel it into our purpose and into our offerings and our companies and like what we do in the world, to our career. We can channel it into working out and training for our health. We can channel it into relationships. We can channel it into whatever we want to do, because creation is everything. It's speaking, it's art, it's chefing, it's designing landscapes with plants. It's everything. And so it's so impactful to address the thoughts that we've had around what our body can do biologically, what society, what porn has given to us. Because, like I said earlier, I was exposed when I was 6 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and my relationship was so skewed. And what the book Multi-Orgasmic Man, plus my work with Patrick, plus some other mentors, has helped me to remember that there's a whole other world out there that is different than what porn has been giving
Mm-hmm.
us. That's
Mm-hmm.
literally informed not just a generation, but generations at this point. And
Mm-hmm.
so that that has brought so much influence for me into the space of men's work, because of the amount of clients that I've talked to, that I've worked with, that I've supported, who've dealt with porn addiction or porn like challenges that's impacted their relationship or their life, or men who are challenged with spending too much money on escorts or prostitutes. Like the list goes on of
Mm-hmm.
the challenge that we as men have with this very powerful energy that can transform your life.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're not taught how to harness it and channel it, that's when it can be really detrimental or impactful.
Yeah, I run a addiction circle for men, and there's it's any guy who has an addiction of any kind can join the group as long as his intention is there, his willingness to do the work is there. And so I get a collection of different addictions in the circle, and I usually have somewhere between 7 and 9 guys in the circle, and there's almost always at least one guy who's dealing with porn addiction. It's one of a few addictions, or it's the primary one for guys. And yeah, so I hear you saying that like the multi-orgasmic man is about uh it breaks open the doors for men of understanding of what their sexual energy is really there for, or what you can do with it,
What you
because I
can do.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, the initial, like, we don't fully understand our sexual energy when we're growing up, and
Yeah.
it seems like this, it's like an urge, and it comes up, it rises, and then we deal with it, and it comes down, and but we just kind of, like, it seems like we just ride that wave unconsciously, and like we're
Um,
seeking, we're desiring, we're looking here, we're looking there, and like, I want this, when you're younger, it like, it can really be about conquest, and like getting your needs met, and doing this, doing that, and then men try to, like, just like clamp down on that, make sure it's not causing problems in their life. They try to get monogamous in relationship, and they try to do that just through sheer will. And so this book kind of opens up the doors, like, hey, actually, this is your power plant.
mhm.
Your sexual energy as a man is like a power plant that can create uh, personal power for you, and that you can harness that energy. You can actually learn how to grow it, rather than just like riding these waves of energy that rise, and then you masturbate, or you have sex, and then it dips and it goes away for a while. You don't need it anymore. You can actually take that energy and like grow it, build it, make it bigger, and then have it create this almost like a free energy machine inside of you that you can then like direct at whatever you want in your life, if
Yep.
you choose to engage that practice, if you choose to like see this as a thing that you need to learn how to master inside of you.
Well, and what I loved about the book is it really helps relate to real world examples that I could relate to, like Muhammad Ali.
Mm,
Muhammad Ali knew that he would not ejaculate before fights. Mike Tyson, Napoleon Hill, the guy who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, has
yeah.
a chapter on sexual transmutation, specifically because men in their 40s, testosterone starts to drop, so their sexual drive isn't as strong. Again, the biological influence. So then they all of a sudden, oh, what am I going to give myself to now? That's why their career, purpose, midlife crisis, all that stuff happens, because they're like, I need to give to something.
Uh-huh.
And I think what was so fascinating for me is in my own self, as well as witnessing in other men, a lot of men can be swayed or influenced by the desire for status, power, and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, they touch on that. It's like, oh, you want to last longer? You want to be a better lover? You want to go for hours? Like, how many guys? I've never talked to a guy that has said no to any of that when they want to like learn. So it's like, it's such a great way to go in. And then all the things of like, well, what do you mean you're telling me not to nut? And what about blue balls? Like,
Yeah.
and all of those things are just symptoms of us not directing that energy in our body, which then helps me to direct the energy in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see where I'm leaking my energy to an addiction of like, oh, wow, I'm giving my energy to that pattern of scrolling on my phone or scrolling on social media or smoking with friends. Like, is that really what I want to do? And then, oh, I get to choose to direct my energy elsewhere. And it actually is a lot more simple, even though there's all these esoteric practices and all these things. The more time that's gone on for me, it's really simple to see that that energy permeates everything that I do. And
Mm.
since we're talking about men's work, like the masculine has a penetrative essence, right? So we have to learn how we show up and how we penetrate things. And it's
Mm.
not from a sexual standpoint, even though a lot of dudes have been like, well, all I do is I think about a dick when you say that. I'm like, but that's us still in our own loop. We got to get beyond that to recognize how we show up is our embodiment, is a reflection of the work or the cultivation, the polishing that we've done of ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's something that because of being in a lot of different spaces that work with men, I've seen the lack of this kind of be at the forefront. And I
Mm-hmm.
see how much it impacts so many men. The amount of men who have come to me and they're like, oh, I slept with this girl because I didn't really want to. And now I'm in this big cycle and this issue with her. And I help them learn how to say no. and learn how to like honor their sexual urges and not suppress them, because like the no fap movement, there's so much that's trying to like suppress men and be like, oh no, it's not, don't do that, don't self pleasure. I don't like to use the word masturbate because the etymological root of masturbate means to defile oneself.
Oh really?
So, yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Right?
I did not know that.
So when we can help understand our own selves, because I mean, my exposure to sexual education was, don't get a girl pregnant, here's a condom.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like, oh, this is your body, and your body has a biological urge, but it also just has a response mechanism that doesn't have to trigger when you're stimulated or experience pleasure. And you can learn how to move that energy up in your body, or you can focus that in other things. Like it's just, it's been life-changing for me, let alone the presence that I've cultivated to then be able to connect with and engage in my wife in that way and bring that level of connection to us, not from a place of trying to be better, or because this is actually, I'm stoked we're talking about it because this is something that's come up for me recently. The focus of trying to last longer feels like it's coming from a place of scarcity, because there's the fear of like, oh, I need to last longer. And because we're talking about men, I've reframed it, and I help my clients reframe it to recognize that focus on giving more. Because if you focus on giving more and in your heart and like giving of yourself, then it's not like trying to be like, oh God, I don't want to go there because I don't want to last not long enough.
Yeah. It's a different kind of like, it's a fear-based goal in a way. Like you can be goal-oriented to just get to ejaculation, which, you know, most guys spend some time in their life with that goal in mind. Some guys spend their entire lives with that goal in mind. Right. But then, you can get hyper focused on the goal of not lasting, or lasting as long as you can. And, that'll cause problems too. You know, your partner will smell that on you.
Where are you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You checked out and started thinking about the History Channel so that you could last longer. Yeah. Yeah. But so before we go there, I wanted to ask you, like, how did porn affect you? And, you know, feel free to share as much as feels comfortable for you here, because we're on a podcast, but like, I think that's an important topic as well for a lot of men is like early exposure to porn, and then like how it affects us, you know, because I think a lot of men have a secret relationship to porn that is holding them back in some way, but it's easy. It's in the shadows. And for most guys, I think it doesn't cause a lot of observable harm, like direct consequences, but there are consequences. And
it's crazy, the consequences.
Yeah. So how was it for you? Like, how do you see it?
Oh, for me, it created a very silent, hidden monster. Where, again, I got exposed when I was 6. I'm 36 for people's context. There was no internet. There was no computers. It was just magazines. So what it did is it created this whole world of curiosity. Like, well, what is this? I don't even know really. Like, I know, but I don't. So then it led me down a path of looking for it everywhere. Wherever I would go, I would like started to notice like, oh, I know that magazine. Oh, it's at the top of those magazine whole counters where there's like a black film on it. And so then I would go into stores and try and rip it off and try to like, I knew I was doing something bad. So I was like sneaking around. So that created that pattern. Then once computers came on board and I got sent to some pretty like pioneering computer programming programs, I started to understand how to wipe my history. I could wipe the computer clean so I could clear my tracks. And then I started to use dial-up to explore. And then I could hack into, because of my computer stuff, I was able to hack into cable cards and program a cable card so I could get all of the Playboy channels and all that stuff. And so it created this incessant drive to seek it out, to always like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And then when I got into high school and I had my first long-term girlfriend and we were having sex, I would look at porn and fully jack off and all of that, and then go be with her and then have sex. And It
Why did
just,
you do that?
well, one, I realized that we're going there. One, I realized that if I did that, I would last longer with her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why I asked.
So
Yeah.
I knew. I was like, well, okay. But, and what also started happening is what I was doing is without realizing it. But then when I started to study and practice all the practices from Multi-Orgasmic Man, I was like, oh, that's what I was doing back then, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just started to use porn because it kind of got to this point of like, well, all right, what do I do? I started using porn as a way to be like, all right, well, let me see how long I could last. I was having
Mhm.
like my own competitions to
Mhm.
jack off as long as I could. And
Right.
then it got to the point where it would be at the end of the day and I would use porn to go to sleep, look at it at the end of the night. And it was incessant. It just like kind of wanted to come up at any time. And any time I was there, it was like I was a slave to it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right. So eventually you found that you were a slave to it. It started, this is what happens with addiction is like it starts as something that seems kind of innocuous. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's stuff you start with friends or stuff you start in a social context and then it slowly ends up as a private thing. But this is something that starts as private from the beginning. And
Yep.
sure, it maybe is like once a week or on some kind of a regular non-invasive interval, and then it starts becoming more, and then it starts invading your thinking, and then your pursuit of it starts being this thing that like takes up a bunch of your time. And this last piece that you shared around um the like seeing how long you can last while like seeking and like participating in the voyeurism of
Yep.
watching porn is this like it's this heightened state that's very visually focused,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of dopamine going on in your brain. You're pumping we know now that your brain is just
Yep.
pumping dopamine in those moments because you're seeking like the next image. Like it's watching porn is different than having real sex.
Oh, yeah.
It sort of trains you to continue to look for the next thing, right?
Uh-huh.
Whereas in sex, you can do that. Like you can be like, okay, yeah, new position. I want to feel this. I want to feel that.
Yeah.
But you also are like much more engaged in the process of doing it.
Yeah.
There's a physical workout involved,
Oh,
so it's a little bit more analog and slower. And so you're cranking the dopamine, and you get to this place where like you're now not just like seeking the quick hit, you're seeking the long journey that is actually creating more addiction in your brain. Like the more time you spend in that dopamine seeking behavior, the more it reinforces itself and it starts invading your mind between sessions. You're like
yep.
thinking about it, the imagery's coming through. And I know this from a lot of the guys that I've worked with and from my own experience, having those like invading thoughts or slowly feeling that like penetrating your consciousness and even your dreams. Like I
Uh-huh.
talk to men and they're like, yeah, I'm having dreams where I'm watching porn in my dreams. I'm
Wow.
not even having sex with real people in my dreams anymore. I'm having sex with porn girls or guys. So it like slowly seeps in there. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I am multiple decades in here and I've got an issue here where I'm very disconnected from my real life partner in a way.
Uh-huh.
Hmm. Really, I appreciate you sharing that so vulnerably because I agree with you, man. It's something that doesn't get talked about very much, and it's an issue that lives in the shadows. Yeah.
As we're talking about this, it reminds me of those temescals that we were hosting. And we specifically did that to create a space of safety for men. And that's pretty much everything that came out in
Mm.
those spaces. Because we didn't have the men introduce themselves, we had them stay in silence. So that way, no one could identify voice and be like, oh, that's Devin speaking right there. Like, we had them silent, go into the temescal. And in that space, we specifically worked with a temescalero, a man who had been carrying the lineage for a long time. So he knew what we were doing, and we worked with him in specific plants and all that. But that was biggest, most common thing that came up was men's addiction to porn and how that affects their life. And from the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they've spent on subscriptions and OnlyFans and all this stuff, like, it's crazy how much of a attack it is on men and our masculinity and our ability to actually show up for our communities and provide, because it's just distracting so many of them.
Yeah, it's a secret relationship that all men can have and get away with it, right? But why talk about it? Why discuss it? Why do something about it? Because going back to the multi-orgasmic man, this is an energy source that men can either learn to harness and to use for good and to use for what they want to create in the world, or they can kind of just like flush it and like just wither it away. And not to mention like waste a ton of time, you know. It can be a short thing, obviously. Like you can spend 4 minutes a day on it, you know, and if you're doing it every day, that's you're flushing a lot of energy out of you, right? A lot of potential energy. You're going to drain yourself. It could be 4 minutes once a week, but for a lot of guys, if they really get honest, it actually is a decent amount of time spent, you know, acquiring and engaging in that activity. And that's wasted energy and wasted time for guys who actually want to, you know, do something with their lives, you know, create something in the world. So thank you, man, for dropping into that with me.
Absolutely. And
so the way that you work with men now in a men's work capacity, you know, tell me about that. Tell me about becoming the king and what you're bringing guys to, or what you're bringing guys through in that work.
Yeah. So having gotten exposure to a lot of different aspects of men's work, and strong emotional side, strong physical pillar side, just seeing a lot of it. And also understanding, talking to so many of these men, that's what really helped me have a central focus around the sexual energy. And it's helping men return home to themselves. That's really what it is. Because it's the way I say it is, we have the fountain of youth is inside of us. When we're talking about that sexual energy, right? So that was what stemmed a lot of the initial pieces of, wow, I don't see this, so let me start offering it. And so what I had created initially was my first program called Sovereign and Shameless. And it was about helping men reclaim their relationship to their body, reclaim their relationship to their own sexual energy, break free from that shame cycle so they could then go back out into the world. I ran that 8 times. And at that time, I just felt like, okay, it's time for a shift. And that's when Becoming the King came forward. And that's what the evolution felt like. It was looking at the archetypes that make up the king's court, of the warrior, the magician, the lover, looking at the father archetype, looking at the steward, looking at the hero, looking at a lot of the different archetypes that kind of the men experience. And then how do we then apply that into our lives? How do we look at these different aspects, and where are certain ones weak, where are certain ones maybe too strong, and how do we get that good harmonious balance to embody that king energy in our life? Whether the man wants to be a king of his own world, or he wants to be a king showing up in his relationship, his marriage, for his community, for his family, for his career, or if he's entrepreneurial or works for a company, whatever it may be. And so I bring a lot of different somatic tools. Bless you. I've had, thankfully, a lot of mentors in the realm of somatic work, somatic therapy, somatic trauma therapy, a lot of training as well from Gestalt and shadow work. And then also a lot of what I have called upon, because of what's helped me, is time with the earth. The amount of lessons that I've got from being out in nature, my vision quest, going and being alone for 4 days and 4 nights and fasting. And when things are confusing, I go into nature because I don't try and figure it out with my mind. And the amount of messages and action steps that are given to me when I go to nature. And so a lot of it is also just called upon especially since we referenced, I think, Jetty earlier in the call,
Yeah.
just referencing the seasons, referencing nature, referencing the cycles that are in our own bodies, like spring, summer, winter, and fall, and like how does that show up in our life, and just bringing those aspects to it as well. And so I really do my best to bring it from a very holistic perspective, and also watching the whole online coaching world come online and stepping into that space. I've gotten to see how, what's the word, just copy and paste it has become.
Mm.
And so I really don't have, I have like a method framework, but it's so customized and hyper focused to each individual, because like one of my past clients is a billionaire. He's going to be in such a different scenario than one of my clients who is working a 9 to 5 job on Maui, but is wanting to start his own business. Like they're at very different stages. There's going to be common through lines, but it's so different for each individual. And so if I have the capacity, I prefer to work in person, because from my work and what I've been trained in, so much is in the body. And being able to actually have the human connection element, because one of my mentors and also dear brothers has reminded me that his mentor shared with him that said, we're born into relationship, we learn in relationship, we get wounded in relationship, and we heal in relationship.
Yeah.
And so the in-person work does not take away, granted, some people have the capacity to only work online, so I totally offer that, but I always try to, if I can, be in person with my clients, because I'm not trying to escape the human connection. And to me, that's where all the magic is. And that's where so much, at least from my experience watching, let alone one-on-one, but in community dynamics, I know you know this with ARCA and so many different aspects of being in brotherhood, being in connection and community that can help us return and go back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, man. Yeah. And I love how you integrate the archetypes in your work. I mean, you really do have to work on the warrior, the lover, and the magician in order to get to the king. You know, the kingdom's not in order unless those three are sorted out and balanced, and you've dealt with the shadows of each. I love that you deal with earth grounding energy, like earth energy, because that is the energy of the king archetype, right? It's like it's actually like the earth and then the cosmos connected together, you know.
Definitely.
And you gotta get out into the wilderness in order to connect with those energies. So yeah, I love that. It's really cool, man. And then there was another piece there around working with guys in person, and yeah, it's like it's a yes, and it's one of these things where like everybody's like, AI is either gonna make everything great or it's gonna kill us all, and then there's like an in the middle perspective, right? And it's the same with the internet, you know, like the internet has its own shadow. Of course, we've seen that in social media, but also social media is this, remember Facebook? Like that's when you could just connect with all your friends and you could connect with their friends. And like in the beginning, it was very innocent and good. We started to see the fallout of some of the shadow later. But I totally agree that working in person is the best. It's the pinnacle.
Yeah.
And of course, here we are, you know, able to do this interview on the internet. You're in Maui, I'm in Canada, and we're having a great conversation. I started the online division for ARCA, where the model we were working with is you have 9 guys ideally on the screen, and it's run much the same as the in-person squads, where same guys, same place, same time every week, same captain. The guys really get to know each other deeply. We do as many of the in-person exercises that we do as possible. And I always say that like, it's good enough, you know, like it gets 80 to 90% of the way there in terms of like the impact that an in-person men's circle has. And I try to help the guys remember that it's not all the way there. And that the intention for starting that online division was to create captains that start in-person groups in their own cities and create a community, an IRL community around them, And we ended up with, like, we've got 16 squads now operating online, and some of the guys who have been in that division have started squads in their own city, so it's pretty cool. But I'm always reminding the men in that division, like, hey guys, you think your group's awesome and you love meeting with them, try meeting them in person. Like, come to a retreat, because it's going to blow your mind. And sure enough, like, when those guys come and meet in person, it's like there's electricity in the air. They're just like, there's so much energy. But I'm with you. Like, the nervous system healing, you can get like 10 to 20% of the nervous system healing online, but most of that is going to happen when you're actually, my nervous system's in the same room as your nervous system, and we're able to breathe together. Our nervous systems can literally feel each other in the space, and we can go into some tension, or we can go into some hard thing together, or you can be vulnerable and I see you and I breathe with you and I help you stay in your body a little bit, and like, know that you're seen and accepted and not rejected for this truth that you're bringing. And like, that's a healing moment. That's a tremendously healing moment for men, and it's, that work is best done in person.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't escape being human. We can try and do all of these different tactics to get away from the uncomfortable challenges of being human, but being human with other humans is priceless.
Yeah. Yeah. I still, I do still think that as soon as it's possible to run men's groups in the metaverse with like very realistic avatars, I think I'm doing it.
Oh yeah, I'm totally doing it.
Just for fun. Like, imagine the exercises that you can do there. No limits.
What stays in the metaverse? What happens in the metaverse stays in the metaverse.
Yeah. 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 So that'll be a whole other next level of things. But nice, man. Yeah. Thanks for doing what you do with becoming the king, and for doing your own version of mentorship, right? This is you giving back to men in the way that was given to you. You're passing on your knowledge, you're sharing that with other people, and of course you're always learning and growing in your own leadership capacity by stepping into that place, on a regular basis.
Yeah. It's fascinating to watch, because I tell this with every guy who signs up either for a one-on-one container or a group program or whatever. I tell them that I go through as much of a transformation as they do. And typically I notice that there's a very interesting mirroring that will happen through that process. We'll all have our own unique experiences, but there's kind of like a common thread that as they're moving through it, it's also inviting me to address and touch that in my own life. And so it's such a beautiful check and balance to not get so far ahead of myself to be like, oh, well, I do this stuff and I coach men and this and that. And it keeps me humble to remember that the work keeps on happening. It doesn't end. And the refinement is always there. It's always going on. Mm-hmm. And that's a really beautiful part of this. And one thing that has happened over the last few years, what are we in 2025? Yeah. Since 2023, I've been working more with couples, and I've really enjoyed that, because what it started out with working with men in relationships, and then hitting points where I'm like, well, I have to talk to your wife. I can't just take your word for this. Like, if you're telling me everything and it's not true, then how do we actually help you with the issue? And so that evolved into having some containers with clients with both the husband and the wife. And it's been really beautiful to step into that space as well, to support people in relationship, because that was the first retreat and or like workshops that I started going to, was with Gay and Katie Hendricks. The art of conscious loving. and
Yeah, they had
articles.
a book. The book is called Conscious Loving. Yeah,
Yeah,
great book.
and that opened my whole world up and really helped me to understand that relationship can be so different. And that's really been such a joy, is to help men in relationship or help men prepare for a relationship. And I love that work too, because that then applies to my marriage. And so it's just real beautiful.
It keeps you accountable too, right? Like
So
it's
accountable.
it's hard to facilitate and teach if your own relationship's a mess or if you're not practicing your own stuff. And relationships are not easy, man. Relationships are hard. I think there's a few people out there who maybe don't struggle, but everyone I talk to struggles.
Oh yeah, the struggle is real.
And it's not like the struggles go away when you get married or when you have a kid. In a way, it's like they get amplified because you're in a more committed container. You're more committed once you're married, and you're even more committed once you have a kid.
Yep.
Actually, like exponentially more committed than when you get married. Because like you can unmarry somebody, but you can't unhave a kid with them.
Oh well. Oh
Yeah, ring off, ring on. But yeah, once you have a kid, then and your child is a mirror and is going to figure out what your weak spots are
mm,
and reflect them back to you. It's not like they're little terrors that are just going to try to exploit your dark side, but it seems like it's just the way of nature that they will push on those things that in a way are like your weaknesses or your shadow as a couple. And I know you're getting ready for that.
that's the forefront of most of my focus at this time, is knowing that my wife is pregnant. She's on this past Saturday. She just hit 30 weeks, so we're at the 30-week mark.
You're getting ready, buddy.
Yeah.
How do you
Next
feel?
thing, one part excited and one part so in the mystery.
Uh-huh.
There's excitement because we chose this, we want this. I like I said, being the oldest of 16, I've been around, I've changed so many diapers, I've watched all my cousins. I feel at ease with all of that. But the mystery and the nervousness is, okay, I want my wife to be healthy. I want her to go through as much of an effortless birth as possible and don't want complications, and
Yeah.
just praying for her. So there's definitely a surrender in that, of just, I'm not going through anything that she is. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going through my body completely changing. So there's been a deep humbling through this process of listening more, watching her, having so much more empathy and compassion than I already thought I had, and
Mm-hmm.
just getting humbled of watching her go through this process and saying, there's nothing really for me to point to, complain about, or worry about. Like, she's taking so much of a burden on. So
Yeah.
how can I actually support her? How can I be there and give more than I ever have?
Mm-hmm.
Because she's having to give more than she's ever had to give.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, your life is becoming more and more out of control
Yeah.
in a way, right? Like you're increasing the amount of things that you're not able to master or like
Mm-hmm.
solve quickly. Like in single life, as Shalina and I call it. It's like before you have kids, you're single, even if you're
Yeah.
married, that's how we frame it. In single life, there's actually a lot of problems and issues that you can be like, okay, well, let's do that. Or we can control this, or oh, maybe if we work as a team for a while, we can like do that.
Yep.
But you're introducing such a wild card when you try to make a life and when you sign up for this, because yeah, not only are you personally not able to control the outcome of this birth and what that process is like for your partner, other than like, yeah, holding space, being a mountain, like, showing up for some of the schlepping that needs to be done during the process, keeping your consciousness aware and knowing what, having a plan for what you guys want to do at the different turning
Mm-hmm.
points. But after all of that, you're going to have a baby that you don't get to control whether they hurt themselves or not, or whether they get a disease, or like whatever their entire life path. You get to be there for it. But, you know, every day is this like process of letting go. You know, you might have an agenda for what you want them to learn or how you want them to be, or wanting to keep them safe, and you're going to do your best. But there will be days where you take your kid to the hospital because you're not sure what's up, or because they got hurt, or there will be days where your kid is just in pain or is sick, and you can't make them better with the snap of a finger, and you just have to be in it with them. So, and then on top of that, you've got your own life going on, and your partner has their own life going on, sleep deprivation, breastfeeding. We need to work for money, and you know, all of those pressures on top of this top priority that's in your house all the time and in your, you know, in your life. But the trade-off for all of that is that you get to witness this miracle every single day, and you get to have your heart open more than it's ever been open. Yeah, you get to love something more than you ever thought you could love, which is like agonizing, like painful in a way, and just like such a joy, such a beautiful life experience. So I'm so excited for you, man. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely one part of me that's like, okay, I'm ready already. Like I want baby to be here, and I don't want to rush that process. That's for sure.
No, once you cross that threshold, man, you guys are 3, and for the moment you are 2 point something, but like in the waking world, you are 2 people, and you get your last few days having dinner together, just sitting there talking, uninterrupted. Uninterrupted meal times. That is like, I now know how special that is. But we are also just coming back to that. Like Shalina and I are occasionally now having like dinner while our kid has gone to bed somewhat early. You know, she's normally up till like 11 p.m., but there's the odd time now where she skips her nap and goes down early, and we're like, wow, we get to just sit here and like have dinner together. Like, this is weird. So anyhow, enjoy that as well. You know, like really enjoy your wife, really enjoy that time with her. Continuing to build that relationship as you guys move towards this portal that you're both going to go through. Yeah, it's going to be more intense for her physically, of course, but you're going to move that through that thing together as a team. And yeah, you guys are going to do great. You're, as far as like setups for parents go, set up for parenthood, like you're set up, bro. You've prepared yourself in such a good way. And so has your partner. Like you guys are great, and you're great with my kid. It's just a joy to have you around when you guys come to visit here and have you playing with her. And I'm so excited for you to see her later this year. We're coming, and man, she is talking up a storm right now, telling stories. She's getting into pretending. It's like, it's adorable. Like everything that comes out of her mouth, we're always just like, oh my God. It's like a psychedelic experience all day long, you know, when this kid that like had no language for a while and couldn't move is like running around, opening drawers and being like, I want this, I want that. No, do it this way. Like telling us what to do. And, you know, it's amazing, man. And she's going to meet your little one. So I'm stoked for you, brother. And I'm here for you. I got your back.
That's, I think, the biggest piece for me right now, because the mystery and of not knowing and being able, like I've done with you a couple of times, like call you and be able, what about this? What about that? And being able to talk to other fathers who've gone through this before, who remind me I got it, even though I don't know what it is, that when it comes, or just trusting and showing up, because that's been monumental in this process. So thank you for your support and for that willingness. And it's really trippy because we first met Ray Ray when she was 9 months, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to watch her over the last few years and only to then see her later this year, I'm so excited to watch her, and the gift and the joy of being able to watch our children grow up and have in like relationships with them. I already want to see her and miss her. And we were thinking like, we have to we're not going to go and see you this summer. So we're so grateful that we get to see you guys this year, because it's been a nice part of our routine. So
yeah. You guys got to witness her first steps. Like that was really cool. Never forget that. Yeah. And I was thinking about this the other day. Like I'm 40, I'm about to turn 41, and I was hanging out with our kid and was like, this is like, having a kid is like planting a garden full of wildflowers that blooms all year long, right in the middle of your house. Like you just plant this thing that's just the most beautiful, constantly blossoming flower garden that smells so good, and it's just like constantly surprising you. Like that's what's coming. Yeah.
that chokes me up already.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that, because already having a relationship, like talking to baby through her Tatiana's belly and feeling baby's movements, I already feel like I'm establishing a relationship, and I haven't even met baby on this side.
Yeah.
Oh, here with the whole baby and welcome baby in. Just, yeah, I can only imagine how things are about to change without having any concept, but I have no clue at the same time.
It's the next adventure, man. It's great. Like it's the stimulation that you were unconsciously or consciously asking for, like, okay, next challenge, spirit, bring it in, and it's gonna make you old and keep you young at the same time. So because you have to have lots of energy to do this. So here we go, bro.
I'm ready for it as much as I can be, and not being ready at all. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. You're not gonna ever be fully ready, and that's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Great, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Really, just loved hearing some things from you that I've never heard before, some pieces of your life. I really do just love podcasting, because it's an opportunity for me to really sit down and get curious with someone about their world and their story. And we're not distracted by other stuff, like when you and I are normally hanging out, there's a child and our partners in the room and we're chopping wood, or we're I'm obsessed with chores and doing stuff, and we get into that. But here we can just really dig in with each other, and it's just a gift, man. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for the opportunity, bro.
How can people find you?
People can find me through my social media. Instagram is my acting website, because my current website's under construction. My Instagram is Devin Frederickson. And I've got my Instagram there. I have a newsletter that you can sign up to. And
okay, we'll link that.
That's the best spot.
We'll link that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Okay, brother. Till I see you next time. Much love, brother. Aloha.
Aloha.